go and then just say, well, Stace was my preferred candidate and go with the regular. So,
Stace, you're a regular, by the way.
I am a regular.
Go with the regular. So you understand what I mean, though. But it's like, well,
of course.
Even if it's applied correctly.
The thing is, I think what they're hoping for is that because of that process, you get to sit in front of panels more, you learn more, you appreciate more, they get to recognise you more, and then all of a sudden the circle that has remained the same for so many years starts to change and people start to drop off and a new wave of people start to come in. My only thing is this Rooney rule, this is nothing new, and this, I don't know if you remember a player called Ricky Hill. Ricky Hill used to play for Luton. Ricky Hill was speaking about this 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago. And you'll remember this person, Chris Ramsey, was his number 2 at Luton. So Chris has known about this for many years. So every time someone like Chris Ramsey hears Rooney rule or whatever code it is, he goes, not another one, because they didn't listen 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So what's the difference going to be now? And these are some of the things that people in the game or fans or whatever will not appreciate and understand because they're not close enough to it to appreciate the fact that we're just going round and round again.
They don't want to understand it. If you look at, and I mean, social media probably isn't the best barometer, but if you look at social media, when they talk about stuff like the Rooney Rule, so when this was publicised and brought out and everything like that, it's just like, it's a load of bollocks. They're just, this is just PC stuff gone mad. Why do we need to do this? If they were good enough, they would get the job. If they were good enough, they'd get interviewed. That is the general populace response. Yeah. And it doesn't take into account that.
Yeah, but all good fans do not live on social media, and I think we're all consumed by social media way too much, and I include myself in this, to be totally honest, because I can get wound up by the most innocent of comment or ridiculous comment, because you're right, you look underneath anything, particularly lately, Black Lives Matter, and you see the wave of comments underneath. You just got to detach yourself from the negativity. You've got to leave it there, unless it's your working space. And unfortunately, it is my working space. Sometimes it's not worth getting involved in that kind of dialogue or conversation, because again, I'm going to bring that term ignorance into play. The ignorance from so many does not even deserve a response. And this game, and this should be the period of time, football has to look at itself really, really hard. Really hard. Some people say it is at the moment. I'm not so sure. But it has to look at itself and decide whether it wants representation, better representation, or it's just going to continue in the way that it is. And do you know what? I'd rather football put its hand up and said, you know what? Yeah, we're all right. We're fine. Do you know what I mean? We don't need a quota of black or ethnic minority people in our game. We don't need X. We don't need Y. Put your hand up and just say we're cool. I'd rather that than some of the initiatives that I've seen over the past 10 years that, like we've just said about the rule, is just not fit for purpose. Not fit for purpose. It's there to almost make people think, look at what they're doing about it. And then 2 years down the line, people realise, but hold on a minute, nothing's changed. Nothing's different. That's where we are.
We've still got 6 coaches.
Yeah, exactly.
Danny Rose is right. He
absolutely spot on.
He don't mince his words. We ain't got half a chance. He knew that. He knows that you ain't got half a chance.
See, there's a lot of people that don't like when Danny Rose talks, and I don't know why, because he's one of the most rawest individuals that I have the pleasure of listening to when he's ready to speak, and he doesn't get much wrong, because again, he's talking from experience. If you don't like his experience, then you don't like him.
I'd love to get him on here
when he talks. Yeah, listen, he'd blow this up. He'd absolutely blow this up, because
get him on here.
He doesn't hold fire. He doesn't hold fire, and I've got a lot of time for that. He says, people are saying, "Oh, look, he don't want to coach in the game. Look at all the money he's earned from the game, and he doesn't want to give back."
He's a bright boy. He's a very clever boy.
He is very, very much so. And I've got a lot of time for Danny. A lot of time for the way that he talks.
He's kept off social media, and he's done the right thing. Really, keeps himself to himself, and
and talks when he needs to talk.
Yeah.
When he needs to talk, yeah.
I want to get him on here. He's going to stop playing soon. So once he stops playing, he's coming on here.
Exactly.
I'll find a way.
The week after he announces his retirement, we'll try and get him on. That'd be great.
Straight in.
Straight in.
Obviously, as long as we're still going at that point, yeah, that'd be absolutely.
We're still.
Well, now you've got a target to keep going until that day, yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair point. So, I mean, we spoke about the lack of number of coaches and stuff, and obviously we're a Spurs pod and we're Spurs fans, and it was really pleasing to see Ledley King being brought in to into the role, and I think being brought in for the right reasons. So for the connection with the fans and for for what he's already achieved with the club, and to try and, to kind of be that conduit between the fans and Mourinho. And so that because I think Mourinho is really clever at kind of managing scenarios and situations, and knows that he's probably still seen as, an ex-Chelsea man, and until he brings us some kind of success, he's going to be a Chelsea man. So in the meantime,
he'll still be a Chelsea man after that.
Yeah, he will be. Yeah, you're definitely right. But but in the meantime, I'm going to put one of your legends on the pathway to getting into coaching and into management.
Absolute masterstroke. And to be honest with you, I don't know why Ledley has only just been an ambassador, to be totally honest. Someone with that knowledge, someone, like you said, who's so closely connected with the fan base, someone who can support and help not only the centre halves at the club, but also just understanding the identity of Tottenham as a football club, understanding and appreciating the enormity of the football club and the expectation. You can't buy that. You have to be here for a good period of time, not to try and appreciate all of that. And for Ledley to come in, he's helping people cut corners a little bit, because he'll bring that passion and he'll bring that understanding into that changing room, onto the training ground on a daily basis, into people's mindsets. And all of a sudden you'll be changing people's thought processes, and they'll be buying into I'm not saying that they don't anyway, but it's always nice to get it reaffirmed by a club legend. So to have Ledley in that position, you see a couple of the clips on Saturday, and obviously we don't know what he's talking about, but he's talking to people, and he's doing his stuff, and he's a great man. And I think, I don't know what his coaching's like, and maybe he's not in there for his coaching, but even if he's just in there for the way that he speaks, the way that he comes across, the way that he transforms the player into identifying and understanding the football club, it's got to be a massive plus. And he looks good in the tracksuit too. So anyone that doesn't think that he looks good in that tracksuit as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it may, as you say, it may just be like, we don't know how how involved he is, but certainly from a match day perspective, his match day management will be better than anyone. Like literally, only him and probably Paul McGrath know how to manage a match day better in a game, and manage themselves for a game in at that level, because both of them obviously had similar problems in terms of being able to to make it through 90 minutes, and just being able to, and that obviously helped him and lent him to having to read the game a lot better. And if he can transfer that knowledge, forget all the training drills, all the coaching drills, and all the stuff that you know in your head, Troy, that you've transferred to people. But in a
Davison Sanchez is going to be benefit. He's going to benefit from it.
Yeah, exactly. But also as well, do you know what? He doesn't have to be the person doing the drills, but he can be the person that tinkers the mindset about the drill.
Right.
And he can be the person who pulls a Davison Sanchez aside and goes, "Do you know what? You see how you were approaching that? Have a think about this." Even an Eric Dyer, who is an accomplished centre-back, but needs work. Still needs work. He still needs to appreciate and understand his role as a centre-back. And if you can't get that off of a Ledley King, this works both ways, by the way, but if you can't get that off of a Ledley King, then maybe you're not good enough to play for Tottenham. that's as much as I'm going to say in terms of any of those players that are going to play in that role. And remember, he was a decent centre midfield player as well, by the way. Could put his foot on the ball. He knew how to play from there. So not only is he going to show the centre backs, he's also going to go, well, do you know what? When I was playing in there as a centre midfielder as well. So I think it's a win-win situation for both sides, you know. And
Tangana is another person that's going to benefit from it. And I think Tangana is going to be our centre-back for years and years. I think he's going to cut. He reminds me of Ledley. He's a good lad. He looks at who he's playing against, he'll study. He's a church boy. He'll be fine, mate. He's got a really long way in the game. Yeah.
You always say, fingers crossed, you stay clear of injury and you keep your mind focused and whatever else. But again, the benefit of having Ledley there now will be massive for him. But like I just said, I think it's a win-win situation all round, and
it's brilliant.
It's really good to see. Really, really good to see, because I think, you know, as a fan base, we always like to see talent, our own talent, part of the setup as well, doesn't it? The identity that it brings, and particularly in Mourinho's reign, you'd kind of want that anyway, because you're still trying to make sure that the fans gravitate to who Mourinho is as a person. Maybe they're not gravitating with what they're watching, or haven't been gravitating to what they're watching on the football pitch, but definitely with Ledley now, hopefully that can change.
Good stuff. Okay. So we had, like, if we talk about some of the managers around, okay, we've had Darren Moore, who was doing really well, I think, for a time. I thought he was doing really well at West Brom, and then he got kicked out, and I made a noise.
I got told off for my comments about Darren Moore. Yeah,
I made a noise on social media, and I was told to shut up because I didn't know what I was talking about, because I'm not a West Brom fan. I'm not close to the game. But in terms of who do you see coming through and making an impression? Do you see, because like Darren, like I say, he impressed me in terms of what he managed to do with West Brom, but he's now. Where Stace, would you say it was Doncaster or something?
It's gone Doncaster, yeah. I was really surprised. I'm really surprised he went Doncaster. I'm really surprised no one took him on.
Let's be serious, right? How many games did he take over? 10 games, 9 games at the end of an Alan Pardew season that confined really well. West Brom to relegation. And they delayed sacking Alan Pardew. And then Darren comes in, brings belief, it's a structure. And you know what? If they'd sacked Pardew 2 games before, he probably would have kept them up. He's then fourth in the league, in the most competitive league. Forget the Premier League, the most competitive league that there is. He's 4th in the Championship, with a chance of still getting automatic, but the very minimum, playoff.
Then he's released.
Sacked. I struggle. And then you can't get a job in.
I'll go
to the Championship. No disrespect, who offered him the opportunity.
Sorry. So Chrissy Hughton's another one. He has nothing, no money to spend at Brighton. So Darren Moore, again, hasn't really got the money. He's taken over a struggling side. Why? I'd love to see him given some money and given a side and given a start, especially Chrissy Hughton as well. I'd love to.
Listen, I got in trouble again for talking about Chrissy Hughton and that Brighton sacking. So sometimes maybe I need to learn to keep my mouth shut as well. But
what's he doing at the moment?
He's not. I think he went for the Bristol City one. They've chosen someone else. Chrissy's just one of the greatest people around, you know. And if I'm being biased, then shoot me down. But he, you know, in his just in what he offers, he helps us at Kick It Out a lot. You know, he'll talk on our behalf. He'll come to events. He's just a great person. I just think the way that he's been treated, not just in his last job, but in the big Newcastle job, I think he's been disrespected quite a lot, to be totally honest. You can think about that what you will, but there's a name I want to bring up, and you kind of said, Steve, and I know he's gone down an international route, but boy, I'm not saying I wish he didn't, because he's cutting his teeth, but I think Spurs need to bring him back, and that's Justin Cochrane. I know Justin personally, but obviously I don't know him as a coach as such, but you know, the way Chrissy Ramsey speaks about him and the way that other people have identified, and that's the reason why he's in that England environment, is that he's one of the future. He is the future. And
where is he now?
So he's in the England under 16s.
Right.
They took him from Spurs about 18 months ago, I think.
Chris Ramsey was with us for years when he coaching.
Chris Ramsey with us for years, technical director